All right, guys, so we got to talk about this. As soon as I saw this chart, I knew, you know what, I got to do a broader segment on this, because one of the things that drives me crazy is that seemingly nobody knows fucking anything about immigration policy. You literally have, like, bumper sticker politics or fortune cookie politics that people have, where, like, they hear some dumbass politician repeat some stupid shit, and they just assume that encapsulates everything going on with immigration in this country. And, Trump and Republicans and most people, certainly Fox News, for example, they don't know anything. They don't know the first fucking thing about immigration. Literally, they don't know the first thing about immigration, okay? So let's start with this. This is from the right-wing libertarian Cato Institute, and they say the U.S. immigrant population generated more in taxes than they received in benefits from all levels of government every year from 1994 to 2003. The Cato study provides the first ever 30-year analysis of the fiscal effects of immigration on government budgets, and then it says learn more. So look at this chart right here. Immigrants paid more taxes than they received in benefits every year. Costs and taxes generated by immigrants to government 1994 to 2003. So you can see here, old age benefits, they get very little. Needs-based benefits, very little. Education, other, very little. The amount in taxes that they pay, much, much higher. It's almost double. They almost pay double than what they use, okay? And look, if you know anything about immigration law, this should honestly come as no shock to you, that immigrants are like a net benefit, a net taxpayer to the system. This is literally the opposite of everything the right has ever told you or implied was the case. But here's the reality of the situation. So this one here is from the Migration Policy Institute. Explainer: immigrants and the use of public benefits in the United States. Other than refugees, non-citizens living in the United States face significant restrictions on access to public benefits funded by the federal government, including programs such as Medicaid, food stamps, and the cash assistance programs such as supplemental security income and temporary assistance to needy families. That's the welfare program, okay? This is particularly the case for unauthorized immigrants who, except in very limited circumstances, are barred from all federally funded public benefits. Immigrants on temporary visas, such as international students or seasonal workers, are likewise barred. Even most legal permanent residents, aka green card holders, face a 5-year waiting period before they can qualify for federal benefits. These restrictions are long-standing, in many cases dating back to a 1996 federal welfare reform law. So let me repeat that. Immigrants do not get Medicaid, they do not get food stamps, and they do not get welfare. Okay? They pay much more in taxes than they get back in benefits, and they are barred from the most common forms of benefits. Okay? So most of them come here, most of them work, and they are net taxpayers into the system. They're doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the country, okay? And then we also have this. Ready? This one is in NPR. Immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born Americans, study finds. Research indicates that immigrants commit less crime than U.S.-born people. Much of the available data focuses on incarceration rates because that's where immigration status is recorded. Some of the most recent extensive research comes from Stanford University. Economist Rand Abramitsky found that since the 1960s, immigrants are 60% less likely to be incarcerated than U.S.-born people. There is also state-level research that shows similar results. Research at the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, looked into Texas in 2019. They found that undocumented immigrants were 37.1% less likely to be convicted of a crime. Now, that study, the broader view on that study is documented immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans by the numbers. That's what the data shows. And undocumented immigrants are also less likely to commit crime than native-born Americans. That's what it shows. So, again, you have people who come here. They generally are hardworking. They pay taxes. They get much less from the government than they pay out in taxes, and they're overwhelmingly more law-abiding than almost any other group, okay? And then I haven't even given you the final piece of information, which is the biggest one where the right-wing heads will explode. Did you know, in Trump's first term, there was a total of 1.9 million deportations, removals, returns, and expulsions, okay? Those are just the different legal categorizations, basically meaning deportations. How many people did you kick out of the country? But there's 1.9 million deportations, removals, returns, and expulsions. That's Trump's first term. In Biden's term, there were over 4 million deportations, removals, returns, and expulsions. Biden doubled the number of deportations that Trump did, and yet the right genuinely and sincerely believes, you will hear them say it to this day, they will say, the border's wide open under Biden, bro. The Democrats always have, like, open borders, bro. They just, like, let anybody in for any reason whatsoever. They don't even do deportations, bro. This is what you hear. Trump says it. Every Republican says it. I've even heard Democrats, even Bernie Sanders was on, like, Tim Dillon's podcast, and he basically implied, well, Democrats left the border open. Left the border open? Motherfucker, Biden deported twice as many people as Trump. Now, by the way, I think there are reasonable criticisms of what Biden did there. The reasonable criticisms are from Biden's left. The reasonable criticisms are like, hey, maybe you guys are a little too similar to Republicans, and you're kicking maybe too many people out of the country, and maybe we should be a little more altruistic and a little more humanitarian and have better laws and actually embrace immigration more and actually make an argument for why immigrants are a good thing. That's the reasonable criticism of Biden. But no, the right goes, they believe in open borders, they open the borders. And even Democrats go, yeah, we open the borders, but we're against open borders. No, they didn't fucking open the borders. Biden deported way more than Trump did. So literally every single thing you've been told about immigration for the past fucking 10 years in this country is a goddamn lie. Everything is a lie. Everything is a lie. And to get anecdotal here for a second, in my personal experience, my interactions with people who are immigrants, recent immigrants to this country, they are the best among us. They are. They're the hardest working. They're the most family oriented. They're the most honorable, truth-telling, down-to-earth people. And these are the people who get smeared and tarred the most in this system. And it makes me fucking sick. If you're ever going to actually do a crackdown, right, to go after people who you should go after, undocumented immigrants who also happen to be violent criminals, you do that by going after the employers, right? That's what you do. You don't go after the people themselves. You can deport undocumented immigrant violent criminals, but anybody outside of that, you go after the employers, not the immigrants themselves. But unfortunately, we have a system where both parties are very right-wing, but the right is way worse because, of course, they don't even care about warrants. They don't even care about due process. So there really is no comparison between the two parties. But like I said, everything you've been told is dead wrong. Everything you've been told is dead wrong. They pay a lot more in taxes. They're less likely to be criminals. They're some of the best people among us. And, oh yeah, it's a lie that Democrats are like for open borders and Republicans are hard asses. Republicans are ripping up the Constitution and they are fucking destroying this country, right? And they are scapegoating immigrants, okay? But with that being said, nobody told you the truth about what's actually happening with immigration. All I gave you was facts. All I gave you was information, right? And so do with that whatever you will. But it just drives me crazy that between the media and the Democratic politicians, the record is never corrected. And so I have to do it on this show, which is like, it's embarrassing when I'm the last line of defense to give people the truth. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.